The sensation of taste is called gustation, and you might remember reading about the gustatory cortex, which is the conscious part of our cerebral cortex, which senses this information and makes sense of it to us. Taste is much simpler than smell. Smell, there are a lot more receptors. In taste, there is generally 5 different tastes. So we have the 5 tastes. And one of the interesting things about smell and taste is as we get older, or if we have a cold, our sense of smell starts to decline. And then when we go to eat something, food does not taste very good because we are not getting that information from the smell. So when we say that we taste something that's really good, it often has this association is that it's the smell part that is giving us the good sensations, the good feelings about it. Okay, so we have sweet. I'm going to leave a little room next to this. We have sour. We have bitter. We have salty. And a new one that just recently became named is umami. So one of the things that's interesting about taste is it gives us information about our food. Now, when we talked about processed food and packaged food, and when we go to the grocery store, right, we can see that this is like something has protein in it, or is it all carbs, right? So we can get information from the packaging. Sometimes food is confusing to our taste. Like we might think it has protein in it, but really it's all carbohydrates because we're tricking our nervous system into thinking it is. So imagine if we didn't have the ability to like go to a grocery store, if you were just out in your environment and tasting things and trying to figure out what your body needed. So imagine that. So sweet, that would be carbohydrates, sugars. So this is energy. So there's a reason why when we haven't eaten for an extended period of time, we might go to the candy bar, right? The chocolate bar, because it gives us easy, accessible glucose, energy. Sour is interesting. It is primarily a perception that allows us to detect if there is vitamin C. So vitamin C is a necessary nutrient in our diet. It's really important for the development of our bones and also our skin, super important. And if you don't have vitamin C in your diet, you get scurvy, and that can be very bad. Bitter has to do with alkaloids. And so this has a lot to do with poison or plants producing chemicals that are trying to prevent themselves from being eaten. So for example, the bitterness of broccoli, is a turnoff to some people, but it does have a little bit of alkaloid in it that our bodies are able to process, a little bit of poison in it, but then it has all these other good things in it as well. So there are certain vegetables that are higher in alkaloids, and these tend to be the vegetables that children do not like to eat. And they tend to be the vegetables that if you are a pregnant female and you're early on in your pregnancy, that you would also choose to avoid, because perhaps these chemicals could be detrimental to the early development of the fetus. Okay. Salty has to do with minerals, and specifically sodium chloride. And we talked about the really important role that sodium plays and potassium plays in our nervous system. And then umami is actually savory, and it is protein. And so generally when something tastes savory, it has protein in it. And that is good information for our bodies to know, because there are certain amino acids that we have to get in our diet that we cannot actually get simply by producing them. So we have to have them in our diet. Now, one interesting thing about umami is oftentimes we put flavors of umami into food. So you probably have heard of MSG, which is short for monosodium glutamate. MSG is added to like ramen. Ramen does not have protein in it. MSG just makes it taste like it has some protein in it. MSG is also added to like Doritos. Doritos are carbohydrates and salt. They do not have protein in them, but a little bit of umami makes it taste like they have protein in them. So you'll eat them thinking that you're going to get protein and it tastes good to you, but you will not get the protein, and then you'll want to eat more of it because you're not, you have that craving maybe for a reason, but it's not actually something that is nourishing you. So when we look at these tastes, these sweet, sour, bitter, salty, umami used to be thought that you could map them on your tongue to different areas. And that has actually kind of gone out the window. But these taste receptors are chemoreceptors, and they're located in taste buds. So when we look at the surface of the tongue, the surface of our tongue, we have these, just kind of ignore the papilla. The papilla are where the taste buds are located. But this is this taste bud right here. And there's little, let's see, I'm not pointing to anything, taste bud right here. And you can see that these are the chemoreceptors. And again, they have these little cytoplasmic extensions called microvilli. And then chemicals come in and they're in solution on our tongue, and they bind to these receptors, and then they send a signal to our gustatory part of our cortex and give us the sensation of, I am tasting something salty, or I am tasting something sour or bitter or sweet or umami. So these receptors are important because they give us information about the nutrient contents of our food.